Nobody cares about The Lion King. Would be a crazy thing to say.
Ow!
I almost got you there. The Lion King was literally supposed to be a movie that nobody cared about.
Lion King was supposed to be a movie that no one cared about.
The irony in that being is that they've gotten really good at not caring about that. But so you had the Pocahontas team and then you had the B team. And not to keep bringing all my videos back to Shrek, but this is the exact same kind of debacle as the Prince of Egypt versus being on Shrek. It's the exact same thing. Because all of the A-list animators would be working on Pocahontas, that meant that younger animators who maybe hadn't worked as a lead character animator before were going to be stepping into those roles for The Lion King. More than 600 artists, animators, technicians were tasked with just making something. Anything. Just make something. They'd be playing second fiddle to the wolf howling to the blue corn moon. And Simba would have to go through a long and exhaustive journey to figure out who he was meant to be. Nevertheless, the one thing the production did have was their... Oh my god, guys. That was a good take that you just ruined. Rude. Okay, the one thing the production team did have on their side was their spirit. The writers, the animators, the composers, the people voicing the characters, the people singing the songs. The list goes on and on and on. Everybody was putting everything into this movie. The product, the movie is timeless. Everybody's seen it. It is a story that anybody can relate to. The beauty that is watching the sunrise and the explosion of color onto the screen. Now just remind yourself for a second that what you're looking at here is a painting. Paint on paper. Well, actually, it's a lot of paintings, but you get the point. And then you have your story. A prince is born. Here's the beautiful landscape that we live in. Hey, be careful of bad things happening. Whoops, childhood trauma. Yikes. You leave the pride, enter a period of hard time and suffering. In the meantime, discover who you're meant to be and be pointed in the right direction by your father. Rejoin the herd as a triumphant hero. And wait, when did we start watching Bambi? No, but seriously, The Lion King was originally pitched as Bambi in Africa. This initial idea is credited to Charlie Fink, who brought it to Disney in 1988. You'll find with this movie is that the story is kind of a hodgepodge of so many different people that saying that he was the one that came up with the story for The Lion King is kind of hard to say.
Who was responsible for what? Because everyone built on the other ideas.
One day you're referencing Moses in the burning bush. The next day they're referencing Joseph, the outcast son. The next day it's Hamlet and his betraying uncle. What do you know? Now it's titled King of the Beasts and it's based on King of the Jungle. The story never had a clear theme until it did. And to this day, it's still the most successful traditionally animated film ever of all time. Granted, not that many traditionally animated movies came out after it, but that's still pretty impressive for a movie that nobody believed in. Thomas Dish, the creator of The Brave Little Toaster, also threw his idea into the pool, but ultimately it wasn't chosen. Apparently there was a lot of gossip on this, and I found it being brought up all the way to 2011. Pause to read, TLDR, people didn't like him very much. He never got credited on the film. I saw a blog post where Fink commented on it, saying, the idea of doing Bambi in Africa originated within the studio. We've pitched it to several writers, including Dish. He wanted to do a Shakespearean thing with the lions, so we let him take a swipe at it. Mostly what this sounds like to me is that he was just one of the many people whose ideas didn't get chosen. The thing is with this movie, the rewriting was endless. It's like every fragment of this story was just its own personal mirror ball inside of a glass of water, reflecting itself into everything and also nowhere all at once.
It's like spaghetti sauce.
There were so many different hands and perspectives shaping the project. It's just hard to pick up where one begins and the other ends, really. For instance, the animation style originally was supposed to be based on African textiles and colors, bold patterns. People liked the idea enough that they ran with it, they did some tests with it, ultimately decided it wasn't going to work out. You still get to see it in the I Just Can't Wait to Be King sequence, though, which is kind of interesting because even as a kid, I always noticed that there was something different about that scene, but I could never quite pick up what it was. So ultimately, they gave it its nod in the final film and then took their inspiration back to Bambi. When working on Bambi, animators were studying real-life deer, and that's the reason that animation is so captivating, because it is built on the fundamentals of real life, how real things move. So for The Lion King, that means enter live-action reference. They brought lions into the studios, they sent animators off to zoos where they could sketch the animals, and they did all of this to capture and replicate the spirit of a lion. Some of the crew would get to visit Kenya, where they would sleep in tents and walk through the wilderness and just be astounded by all the glorious landscapes that they were witnessing. The radiant colors, the magical people, and of course, the wildlife that was cohabitating with them all. So they needed to find a way to translate that savanna to the page. The viewer needed to feel the dust blowing through the grasslands. They also felt like it was important to highlight the diversity of the African continent. And to not just boil it all down to savannah when there's glorious mountaintops, and also the way that the rain drips into a pond, a lion cub being born, and then figure out how to boil that down into an interesting 90 minutes. The storyboarders were constantly rewriting, reanimating, resequencing, scrapping, and adding day by day. And they weren't going to stop until they created something that felt like it had the same depth and weight as the inspiration that was pouring out of them. Have you ever wondered what makes the Renaissance films feel different? What did the movies like Mulan, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Hercules, The Little Mermaid, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Pocahontas, and Tarzan just do differently than the rest? Movies that outlive every generation that preceded it and every generation that would dare try to live up to it. A set of films that for the most part, everybody unanimously agrees is just like the pinnacle of Disney animation. Disney ruled pop culture in the 90s, okay? Because they were releasing bangers after bangers, back to back. It was a film that everybody loved, from a little kid all the way up to like Hans Zimmer, Elton John. Come on.
You know when something has momentum and everything within the crew members and everyone on the film, you just knew that this was going to be a winner because of the spirit involved in making this movie.
It was the spirit that was involved in making the movie, the spirit that the people were putting into it. The creativity, the passion, the drive. What started as an attempt to like prove some executives wrong turned into unbridled joy and expression, which is just magical. But that's the key, okay? Nobody outside of the production team thought that this movie was going to be good, thought it was going to be a success, compared to Pocahontas. And let me tell you, I watched the entire The Making the Lion King documentary, okay? The running theme, we were the B team. We had to figure it out.
It was the B picture. It was sort of the one that the A players weren't working on.
Okay, so what if we're the B team? We're just gonna rally and do a great job. We'll show them.
But they would get in the studio together and the ideas would just bounce back and forth. Some of them stuck, some of them didn't. The music informed the storyboards and the storyboards informed the music. Everybody was inspiring everybody from all around. They were using 3D animation for stuff that you can only do in 3D. Not as a replacement, but to enhance 2D animation with something that it's just not set up to do. When you get a group of people together who are excited to make something and are excited to create something magical, you're gonna make something magical. It might take a while, it might take a bit for your ideas to actually seem worthwhile, but your excitement's gonna live on and continue in the circle of life. It's the circle of life. Let me know what your favorite animated movie is in the comments. Vote your little hearts out. Tell me what to make next. Otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye! Oh man, I'm tired. Maple, come here. Please don't make noise. My cats are fighting. Guys, you're being loud. I'm recording. Guys, this is ridiculous.